to frame where I'll be going with the question, I guess I'll start with that it surrounds faith before I go on my winding tale of why that's what I'm thinking about at the end of this, in part because there was a reference to an almighty presence, and then in Your Music is Navy Blue, there's references to God, and I think a lot of what this conversation has centered around are guiding principles and standards of living and how we set them for ourselves and track or aren't able to track our progress with a goal of living in a way that is maybe undefined but somehow feels right or feels good and feels affirming to your beliefs and what you want to see and contribute to in the world. So I'm curious where you all might stand, because I get the sense that you're sitting with each other with different perspectives on faith and, well, as probably everybody is. And what your thoughts are on where spirituality and faith might come into organizing and or mental health and understanding to the conflicts of organized religion and the traumas of colonialism and religion, and then how to separate what an inherent spiritual experience might be for a person and how that might really fuel you to be able to achieve these things that are very hard to do just getting through the day. So I'm curious where that
This
comes
is a whole
into the
talk in and of itself. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I know Sage does it too. That's a whole combo in and of itself. Who did you get that from?
We made it. I made
You
it
made
up.
it up.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
That's my bag. You just
Yeah, exactly.
Please, go ahead.
I know you niggas don't gonna be like, God is not real.
No, hold on.
The black man is God.
we have a shared nuance.
Yeah, we had a
position.
No,
on it,
I'm
yeah.
joking. I'm already hip. I mean, yeah, I believe in God. My mother is a Buddhist. Like I was saying earlier about my grandfather, it's just a vehicle. Whatever you call it, I don't care. You know, whatever speaks to you, whatever you align with. I just think whatever can make you a better, I'm for it. You know what I mean? Even though, okay, God, I don't want to go too.
It's deep.
For example, I was talking to my dad, and he was like, yeah, I prayed and I asked, the universe for some guidance, like a spirit that I can speak to. And he's like, guess who came to me? I was like, who? And he said, Christ. And I was like, oh no, And then I started thinking about it. It's like, yeah, Christ is a beautiful spirit. It's like, it's just what we've done we as humans, like everything that dude stood for, like what we do in his name. This guy was probably like so advanced. He was definitely posted up with all of the rejects and everyone. If we were even to call him like prophetize him, he would probably be like, yo, I'm just regular. I'm just dude. I'm just a conduit of this thing. You know what I mean? So like, I often just think that spirituality in general, I'm learning to just shed all of my stuff around it. I'm trying to be more open-minded and navigating my own relationship to whatever I want my God to be. Like my God is you kept saying it over and over, like compassion, like my God is compassionate, because I'm not very compassionate with myself. I'm not very kind to myself. When I feel judged by other people, the first thing that goes into my head, I'm like, if you only knew the way that I talk to myself, you know what I mean? So all of these qualities of my God are things that I'm not able to offer myself. And I just kind of use it as something to lean against. It's not like a white dude with a beard reaching through the clouds or whatever, you know what I mean? And I feel like it just knowing that I'm not alone in this experience just gives me a little bit of just gives me the support, I guess, that I've been looking for my whole life, honestly. I feel like I kind of answered it a little bit.
I think, we've talked a lot about church. I also grew up in church, but I feel like I always had one foot out the door, in a sense, and so I don't feel like I left with the same religious trauma that you have. Although I used to get spooked by the idea of the devil when I was a kid, but like I don't I don't know if that's quite the same thing, but so I feel like I never really like seriously engaged with it growing up. Um, and I did sort of dismiss it for a long time in the way that you were just joking. But like, I think as I've read more and as I've explored myself more and just explored just like other cultures more and sort of realized like there's always sort of talk of this like just this organizing principle. They always have a different name for it, whether I think it's prana in Hinduism or just general Indian. I don't know the specifics, but like there's always this idea of like sort of an unnamed organizing principle, and I think what really got me interested in going in that direction is like I was reading Ecology of Freedom by Murray Bookchin. Good book, worth reading. But I just like got fixated on a chapter about not a chapter but a passage about early Christians, the Gnosticism. And so I bought a Bible immediately. Just because I was like, what is that? What is going on? And I just started reading more about that, and I started reading about like what early Christians thought. And there's like variants in Gnosticism. There's all these different sects, but the main underlying idea was that this whole idea of God as just like a guy and is just this dude in the sky was basically just like a psyop, basically. And that these early Christians believed that there was a higher presence above that God, and that we've been fooled into worshiping this idea of man. And I feel like that sort of stood into me as like this idea of like patriarchy as a concept and hierarchy in general, going beyond just like the rule of men, the state, anything like that. And if it I think that provided a good stand-in for me of just like, here's the problem and here's the alternative. You have this idea that, that can be extrapolated out into every man gets to have their little kingdom, and everybody has to have their own stuff and their own house and their own family, which we can talk about how the word family is the same root for the word slaves. We can get into that if we want to, but like, here's the thing, patriarchy, and here's the alternative, which is that there is spirit in everything. And whether you understand it or not, whether you believe in a specific iteration of it or not, there's something within everything that you owe your respect to and your reverence to. And, I don't even have a name that I can put on that, but just the idea that you owe respect to everything, and that
Animism is pretty close.
It's
not exact,
yeah.
but
But it's just this idea that like, you mentioned scientism earlier. Just this idea that you don't have to understand shit to leave it alone. We act like we gotta do a bunch of calculations. But we act like we gotta do a bunch of calculations to like prove that people and things deserve like respect, dignity.
But it makes me think that sometimes you just gotta respect when. That's where the curiosity comes in. Like to me, when I think when you drop like something in a body of water and they undulate out in perfect circles, I'm like. You gonna tell me there ain't something going on? Or like when you zoom in on a snowflake and it look like that, it's just like it's just a thing. Like, come on,
snowflake.
And the one thing I would say to what you're speaking to, my friend Mustafa ran into my dad at a grocery store, and they run into each other often, and they talk about God. And my dad barred out. He told him, he said, the funny thing is the God that they pray, that the God that people speak of is the God of this earth.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like it's the God of earth. You know what I mean? We often talk about like the universe, but the universe is still somehow like earth.
Yeah.
And there's just a whole bunch of, and remember were we talking about zero and nothing? You know, like people are so afraid of that, of nothing.
Yeah.
Even though nothing is technically something. And I think that we ultimately return back to that nothing, whether we like it or not. And then if we didn't do what we were meant to do here, then we'll just come back around and...
Can I say something on that?
Yeah.
And I want to make it short so other people have time to ask questions. But Pac had a line, my only fear of death is reincarnation. And I can say for myself that all the religious trauma aside, I was raised in a Southern Baptist household and church. And but coming out of organized religion, I was existentially moved to action, motivated partially by a fear that I could die and come back, not me, but come into consciousness through another, human vessel into an even worse situation than the one that I came into here. And so my rationale was from a place of fear, an unhealthy place. How can I do everything within my power to create a world where no matter where you are fucking born, you get what you need, you have dignity, you have comfort, you have food, you have love. That's where it started. That's where it all started for me. And I can't say that this is a part of the unconditional acceptance piece. I can't say that I relate or am motivated by that fear anymore, but I can say that I find value in life itself, in consciousness and awareness itself. And it's that valuing for life and consciousness and what it can be, the beauty that can be in that, the joy that can be in that. I think trying to cultivate that, create room for that to be cultivated, that's what drives and pushes me now. Yeah. It's kind of Drake coded a little bit.
It's been so real, everyone.
the little bit at the end.